Hi there, I'm Mrs. Johnson, and I will be your sponsor, mentor, whatever you call it, for the library aid program. This following video is going to serve as sort of an instructional video slash orientation. Of course, as we go along throughout the year, we'll encounter different things that I haven't addressed here just because they are sort of impromptu activities. The library aids, first of all, to qualify for the library aid program, you have to have gone through the teacher prep class where you have Mrs. Langley or Yancey Bell for a teacher. And they prepare you to either be aides for teachers in the classroom or an office aide or the library aide. When you come into the library, a lot of kids come in and think, oh, it's just about books and I'm not going to have to do anything. It's going to be a study hall period and this is wonderful because I'm a senior and I'm going to need extra time. And that is not always the case. A lot of times when you get to the library, you're busier in that class than you are in any other because you end up being a gopher or an errand runner for the library, for other teachers, for technology. It just depends on what's going on throughout the school at that time. And sometimes you do have some spare time to work on extra work or do whatever you need to be doing. And when that's the case, I'm more than happy to let you do that and to work with you and that sort of thing. But for the most part, you're busy and you're moving and grooving. So that's something that you need to be prepared for when you come in here. The library aid program has been pretty successful. Kids really enjoy it, even though they're busy, because they get to do things that they've never gotten to do before, and they learn some things that they end up using even after they graduate from high school. One of the things that we do in the library aid program that you won't see in this video is we use our library aides a lot of time as our technology helpers, especially if it's someone who's interested in technology and thinks that they might pursue that avenue when they go to college. We let them use the library aid program as a way to sort of get their feet wet. We teach them maintenance sort of aspects of technology. Last year, a couple of our aides got into some programming and some troubleshooting and even a little bit of networking infrastructure. So that was good to have, good to know, and it also looks good on a resume. So that's something you need to keep in mind when you're in here working. Every single skill that you learn, even if it might not be very fun, is something that you could put on a resume and potentially use later on down the road. So don't look at it as drudgery or, oh gosh, what's she going to have me do today? Try to look at it from a learning perspective and look at it as something that is going to really help you in your education now and in the future. This is my third year in the library, so I've had a little bit of experience with the aides, and I can usually tell right off the bat if you're going to be someone who is really going to get into it and really be good help and really want to learn some things, or if you're one of those that got in here because you think it's going to be a free period. So I hope we get off to a great start. I hope that you have your mind wrapped around the idea that we're going to work together and we are going to have a good time. Whether you want to or not, we're going to have a good time. Also, one of the things that you need to consider is that you end up working with a lot of different people. You end up being exposed to kids that you typically wouldn't find yourself with just because you don't take the same types of classes, you're not involved in the same types of extracurricular activities. You end up being involved with whoever walks through that library door lots of times, and you learn things about people and about yourself that you didn't know before. So be open to that. Keep an open mind about people and experiences that you're going to have in the library. Adults. Something that we don't address in the video that needs to be addressed here as well is you are going to deal with adults. You're going to deal with parents. You're going to deal with other teachers. You're going to deal with administration. And because we oftentimes host meetings in the library for organizations and things out and committees that are not necessarily part of our campus but are part of our district or community, you're going to be exposed to adults that you may or may not know. So first of all, the first thing to do is make sure that they are actually registered visitors or employees of the district if you encounter one of them. And then try to be as accommodating as possible. Try to figure out why they're in the library, what they need, and do your best to help them and be respectful, which I'm sure you all will be. I've never had an issue with that. But that's something to keep in mind. We have a host of different types of people in and out of the library needing a variety of things. Okay, so having said those things, I want you to pay attention to the video. It's kind of a fun, lighthearted training video. It's nothing formal because we're not formal around here. We work and we do and we get in there together and we have a good time while we do it. So watch the video, take as much away from it as you can, take some notes if you want to, and then at the end is a short PowerPoint that gives you a little bit more information, not necessarily better information or anything different. It just gives it to you in a different format in case you would rather read it to comprehend. A lot of people like to see it in a different format, so I'm doing that for you as well. Now, like I said, this video only touches on the basics of what we do in the library. We do lots and lots of things, and don't think because it's not in the video we're not going to do it, or bummer, that's all there is to it. I thought there was more to it. I saw those other kids doing this or that. We probably will, but because so many of the things that we do are a fly by the seat of our pants kind of encounter, we are open to a lot of different things. Yes, we will be doing 3D printing, and you will learn how to do that because I can't be everywhere at once and I do need my aides to help me with things. So yes, if that printer is what's on your mind, yes, we'll be doing that. I will walk you through those things, but we will address those things on an as needed basis. Not all of you will be needed to do all of those different things, so I didn't see it necessary to address that in the video. The things that I have addressed in the video, I did because they're things we all will do, including myself. Those are things that we all have to stay on top of every day. Kind of like taking out the garbage at home or doing the dishes or cooking dinner. The things that I address in the video are just things that we do every single day, all day long. So having said that, I'm going to stop talking because I can talk all day. And I'm going to let you watch the video. This is part of your grade, so you will need to pay attention, and from time to time I'll question you. And yes, you do get a grade to be a library aide. I know. But we're going to have a good time. I'm thankful to have you, and welcome. Take two. This is Madison, and this is Allie, and they are two of my library aides. And Allie is on year 2 with me, and what she's going to do is she's going to walk Madison through the process of covering a book to add to our library orientation video. Now, we have started with the jacket. We've already placed the barcode and the cover on top, as well as the spine label and its cover, and we'll go over that particular label later when we shelve the book. So Allie is going to now demonstrate how to cover the book for Maddie.
Alright, so you have your book, and we've already cut the piece over here, so you know that it's a little bit longer than what it needs to be. So what you'll want to do is usually before I start by putting this, because you're going to end up sliding this in between here and covering it. Before I start that though, because it gets kind of tedious to hold all of that, you want to go ahead and cut your tape. So, usually I just stick it to all of this here, and you don't need much. It's just to seal off all the edges there. So you'll have 2 for here and then 2 for there, and usually when I fold, you'll have to fold this down over. I put one in the middle, and I'll show you how that works, so that it kind of holds it and it makes it look better when you're done. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 5 pieces of tape, and then set that to the side. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to turn this to where the bottom of the book cover, I mean, it really doesn't matter either way, but that's just easier way for me to learn how to do it. So you'll put the face of it towards the clear side, and you'll kind of slide it in there and then flatten it out. And this is the difficult part, because you got to get the edge of the book, cover as close as you can to this edge, or you'll have like a white or a clear gap that kind of bubbles out, and you don't want that, because it doesn't look that good. So what you're going to do is I usually just hold my arm underneath it and hold the edge and slide the edge of the book until I see the edge of it right there. And then hold that down and then pull this one back. Okay, so then you see that it's all the way at the edge. I usually lay my arm across it, and then you'll want to get this together and then fold it over so that it's even. And it doesn't matter if your white right here is a little bit farther back, it usually pulls that back. No one will ever see that, so it's okay. So then take one piece of tape and put it in the middle to hold it down so that it stays. Okay, you're gonna flip it over. So we didn't leave any clear gaps, so we're doing good there. Now what you want to do is you're going to cut the edge off right here. That's why we said we should put some extra just in case. So I'm going to cut the extra off. There we go, there's that one. Alright, so now you have your book cover. So you're going to flip it over. Make sure you put the book back in the right way. You don't want to do it upside down. So that you'll kind of feel the creases in there, and you'll just kind of lay it in there and then fold it back over. And then usually I just fold it back up, make sure it's in the center. And then you'll take one of your pieces of tape and you'll slide it in the back right here and actually tape it to the book. Mash it down a little bit and then fold it over so that it keeps us here. And you'll do the same to the other side. And you kind of want to try not to, like, you want to make sure it's not messy. That one kind of didn't turn out that well, but it's alright. Okay, and then you'll make sure it's in the center and you'll flip this side up and fold it down and do the same. And now we have a perfectly wrapped book.
Awesome. Thanks, Hallie.
You're welcome.
Think you can do it on your own?
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this scissors go in there, and then the tape usually stays over in here. And then clean all that up, and then I'll put this box back.
Book covers go in the workroom cabinet. All of these cabinets are full of good supplies that you need to know where they are and what to do with them.
All right.
Okay, so that's book covering. Now let's talk about shelving the books.
Okay.
You both probably have good enough knowledge of shelving the books that you can contribute to this part. What's your first step in shelving a book?
Your first step in shelving a book would be to, for one, figure out if it's fiction or nonfiction.
Very good.
In my opinion. So then you would want to look around the library, which, do you know the sections of the library and what the books are? Okay. So around the wall right here and around the back, you have your fiction. And then through the middle right here, you have your nonfiction. And then of course you have your magazines over in that section. Okay, so first we're gonna look, and I'm just gonna do this one. It says that it's fiction, of course, is the F. And then it's YN. So it starts with, let me see. It starts with A through Z over here. So let's go ahead and go to this section. And then you'll have to alphabetize and figure out which one it's going to be in. So let's look, we have our W's and then Y's. Okay, so here's your Y's. And it looks like there's already some that say YN. Okay, so let me make sure. Yeah, this is where they start with YN. So then after you do that, and you realize, okay, it's going to go in the section, but where? So then you'll look and you'll see the book is called The Monstrumologist, okay? So you'll start with you won't use D, you don't ever use D, you go straight to the next main word and it'll say, it starts with the M. So let's try and figure out, hopefully these are already in order.
Now something I'm going to add here for you that we may or may not have addressed in the past is sometimes books are one of a series, so if you know about the series, you want to put the books in the series order, and The Monstrumologist is the first in that series, so you'll just put it at the beginning.
Does it start with the infinite?
No, it starts with The Monstrumologist and then it goes to We may have to look. Sometimes we have to look them up, which is not a big deal. You just ask me, and we can look them up.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Monstrologist, and then the Final Descent, and then the Isles of Blood. So then these would be out of alphabetical order, but they're in the series together.
Right.
So you wanna do that.
Now, something else we're going to look at. When you're looking at these shelves, you want to always look at the books around them just to kind of do damage control, I call it. You're maintaining the shelves. You're making sure that they're all in the correct order according to their labels. And I see a book that's not where it belongs.
Which one? That one?
Down on the bottom, it's a nonfiction book.
Yes.
Has a number
It has
and
a
then
number.
the name. It's a
Okay.
graphic novel, actually.
So-
And also, the way these books are situated on the shelf is something that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
They all need to be fairly even. Their spines need to be even, and they need to be pulled toward the front of the shelf so that it gives a nice, neat, clean appearance. And you want to check for books back behind those. Sometimes they get pushed back. That's what we call reading the shelves, making sure that they're all in order, that the books are not pushed behind one another, that the shelves are just in good, logical, aesthetic order. Yeah, just like that. And we have lots of that to do. I think we have some
Yes.
folks in the evenings that scroll through our shelves and make a mess of them. I've noticed. Here's another book I'm noticing that is out of place,
No, it's flipped
upside down.
Yes.
That's on a daily basis. I come in and find books that weren't like that necessarily. Okay, so let's go ahead and take her and show her the fiction
We'll
section.
go
That's
ahead
perfect.
And shelve the fiction. Yeah. Since this is not a order. Okay.
Now these books right here, what I'm doing with these books, and I don't know if I've explained them to y'all or not. I think I may have you, Allie, maybe Maddie, I don't know. These are classics that I'm pulling off the shelves because they take up so much room, but we don't want to weed them because they are classics and are used from time to time. But they're not checked out very often. Some of them have never been checked out. And so I'm having a new shelf built for all of the classics to eventually pull them all off. And in the meantime, these are going to be parked right here until we can change that just in the physical sense. We won't change it in the system. We'll just change it right for the shelving purposes.
Okay. So this starts with your number. So it's going to start at 0, and then we'll go on around here because this is in 700s. So 300s, oh, there's 500s. It's annoying. Okay, here we go. There's 600s, and then here's 741, which there looks to be quite a few 741s.
You'll find that the nonfiction section right through here tends to be a mess most of the time because this is where kids come and they know I can't see them. So they just throw books back down on the floor or on the shelf where they don't belong.
Randomly in here.
Just like that, yeah. So
We'll
you
have to take those
typically
pictures.
have to read these shelves a little bit more than you do the fiction section.
Okay, so we have 741, and then you'll look at it, says the author's name, Yan. So there's a lot of 741s. So then you'll have to go in the 741s, and we can file it by author. So, STT, look, there's 2 books that aren't in the right place.
Good. See, reading the shelf helps you keep from making a big mess worse.
So we'll want to put this one in here because that's where the Y would go, and for 741. And then this one is actually 742, which is close, so we'll just go ahead and shelve it. Let me see. 742, well, I thought it was close. Here we go, because these start 743. So there's the 742. All right. So then we'll take these to be re-shelved because they are way out of place.
Yeah, and you can just take those to the card if you want to. And Rachel can do those this afternoon. Okay, so book shelving. Now let's talk about what is next on our list. Let's talk about the magazines. What do you do with the magazines?
Okay, with the magazines, actually, these are new, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here's what we can
This
do.
is always where the new magazines will be if
Yes.
there are some that need to be taken care of.
We'll go ahead and we can take a few of these, and then we'll come over here and I'll show you how you do the magazine. So our magazine section's over here, And usually the new magazines are all stacked up right there. What you're gonna do is, okay, so this one is called the School Library Journal. I'm not sure if we have one over here.
No, we don't. Those are the ones that go in my office.
All right, so we don't. Do you have any extra covers? You just want to set them in here, Miss Johnson?
There's one over there, but I don't know that it fits anything here.
Okay. Yeah.
Those top two magazines, School Library Journal and Tech and Learning. Tech and Learning is new, and I'm going to have to find a cover that fits it. I don't think we have one out that fits it.
Okay.
And that one's a catalog. So actually, those are mine. They got mixed in. All three of those are mine. They got mixed in with.
Well, then let's see if we can find one. That's part of it.
Magazines take two.
That's just monthly. We have one over there.
Yes, that
And
one.
Fishing Game.
And the
and
week.
weekly. And digital photo.
Yes.
And Shutterbug.
And I think all of these will
All of those, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All of these will have. So we'll go ahead and take these and then
Okay.
we'll work on this. All right. So Shutterbug. Let's see. One, you're going to want to find Shutterbug, which there we go right at the top. All right. Make sure that the date. Which one? There we go. October. And this one's November. So since this is a new edition, we're going to go ahead and take this one out. So let's just slide it out of here.
My videographer skills leave a lot to be desired, so.
And then sometimes these can be difficult if they're in here tight. So slide the back up, and then you usually have it about halfway through, so then you'll just easily pull that out. We'll set these to the side, and then I'll show you how to file them in a minute. So let's go ahead and we'll take the Shutterbug one. You're going to want to pull it to about the middle, and there's usually one of these cards. Just stick it somewhere else. Let's see. Just slide it through here. Alright, when you get to the spine, then you'll be able to take the front cover of it and slide it in these. See if it stays in there. Try not to fold the corners down. Sometimes they can be a pain.
Yeah, you have to ease them in sometimes.
Alright, and then we'll do the back one. There we go. Alright, so then we'll just put that one back. And then let's do the next one. Okay. Let's try the week here. I think we had 2 of the week in here. So you want to make sure you get the earliest one. You don't have to do this twice. So October 14th, October 7th. So we'll go ahead and set this one to the side since it's the older one. And then let's find the week. Oh, there we go. Right beside it. And this one's September 30th. So do you want to go ahead and do this one? Yeah, I can try it. Okay. It's tedious, but it's worth it so that the kids don't tear them up.
Well, and I need to order we need some new covers too. We need some bigger ones and different size ones.
Yes, ma'am. All right, there you go. Okay, we have 2 Superman ones.
Let's go ahead and show her
Okay.
what to do with the old editions.
Okay,
The ones
let's
that
do
she's pulled out of the jackets or the ones that have been surpassed by a newer edition.
Alright, so here's what you're gonna do. Over here we have all of these bins. And they all have the names of the different magazines and everything. So we have 2 of the week. So let's go ahead and find the week, which is it's like on the bottom over here, I think. There we go. Alright. So just go ahead and pull them out. And then they should be in here by date, which is usually how I like to do it so that they're just in order. It's nice, and especially when you go to clean them out, so then you know like what date they go back to. Okay, so this one says May of 2016. Looks like we're going this way. All right. So what we're gonna do is here's the back of the stack, and we're going to just go ahead and make sure September 30th and October 7th, and you'll just slide them in there and put it back. So you wanna go ahead and do that one? Yes. Okay. Shutterbug. Right here. Okay. And sometimes they're in order and sometimes they're not. September? Yeah, October, there you go. those in a minute.
Okay.
What's next on our list?
Then we have newspapers.
Okay.
And that's not really something we've addressed because those come in the mail in the afternoons. We get the Palestine Herald Press every day, and we get the Messenger 3 days a week, I believe. I'm not positive about that. But what you'll want to do when the magazines are still over on the circulation desk is you'll want to take any inserts like the coupon flyers and the sale flyers and things like that. Take those out of the newspaper because they just end up being strewn everywhere and garbage. Take those out, go ahead and throw them away, or put the coupons just on the counter or wherever. A lot of times people want those. And then you will bring the newspapers over to the coffee table here in the sitting area and replace the older edition of the newspaper with the newest edition. Now, when you get the older edition, and I think there may be multiple copies of one of the papers there. So let's see, you have the Messenger Sunday, October 9th, and then the Palestine Herald Press, Saturday, October 8th, Tuesday, October 11th, so we need to get rid of some editions. Okay, so those two Palestine Herald Press newspapers, you can take them, and they belong over, we keep the newspapers over on the shelf, and we keep them for about 3 months. And then we recycle them in some way. Sometimes teachers want them for their gardens or their dog kennels or whatever, and we have a list of people who like them, so I like to try to give them to those teachers. The reason we don't keep those as long, like with the magazines, we try to keep the magazines for about a year, and then we recycle those as well. But the reason we don't keep the newspapers very long is because nowadays with e-edition newspapers, if you need to look up something in a back issue, you can go to the newspaper database and look it up. We have databases, of course, on the website that are district-wide and those sorts of things. Magazines are the same way, but a lot of times people like to see the actual magazine, so we keep those for about a year. And our subscriptions change, so you'll notice when our news subscriptions start off that we're going to have some different magazines, so our magazine rack will look a little differently from year to year depending on what the popularity of the magazines. Okay, so that's the newspapers. Those are the only two newspapers we get. It's real easy to maintain, not a big deal. Now let's talk about the bulletin board. And this is not something that we have really addressed because we just really have kind of gotten going on the bulletin board. Of course, this one is not finished. It's going to say, what does your digital footprint say about you? In the future, what we're going to do is I'm going to let y'all have control over the bulletin board because it really takes up a lot of my time that I need to be doing other things. So if I'm doing the bulletin board, I'm neglecting something else I need to do. And that, that's kind of a creative outlet for y'all. When you're in here, it gives you something to do when you've caught up on everything else and don't have anything else you're working on. I try to stick with maybe a theme, a library theme that's going on that month, or technology theme, since we are really more centered on technology than anything. So that one, I just decided I liked the way it looked, and the teachers and I had been having a conversation about the habits of not just teenagers, but adults as well, and their technology. We don't realize that our technology habits follow us, good or bad, they follow us. And so that's just something, a good reminder, good thought-provoking bulletin board. And that's what I try to do. I try to put things up there that will make people think and question and maybe explore something a little deeper than you would just on a day-to-day basis. So y'all's job in the future from here on out is to come up with new ideas for the bulletin board. And I'm going to let y'all have control over how often it gets changed and what it gets changed to. Y'all are good about, coming up with ideas, and you're all creative. So that's y'all's new baby. So the bulletin board, we'll finish this one, and however often you guys want to change it. I don't care if you change it every week. I don't care if you change it every month, however often you want to. Just when you get an idea, just do it. We'll learn how to use the silhouette so that I don't constantly have to be the one to cut the stuff out. Okay. It's really easy to use, and it's another creative outlet, and it's a good technology tool to learn how to use. So that's the bulletin board. Then we need to talk about the computers. Back the computer carts after they've had them in their classrooms. They'll bring them back basically like this. you will need to plug them in, make sure it's plugged in back here. Oh, and not in a way that damages the plug. You don't want to push the card all the way back up to the plug because it bends it. Okay, then you're going to press manage, the blue manage button, because if you press manage, that means they're going to charge all the time, even if someone pulls one out and uses it and plugs it back in. Whereas if you press the green charge button, if someone takes one out and puts it back in, it won't start charging that computer again. You'll have to press the charge button again. But if you press manage, it charges all day no matter what comes in or out. Okay, so what you're going to do when teachers bring them back, because students don't always shut the computers down the way they need to be shut down, and if they're not shut down completely, they won't continue to charge, and whoever has the cart for tomorrow or the next day is going to get a cart that doesn't have completely charged computers, and then they're not happy. And our job, our goal is to make the teachers happy. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to pull out each computer and you're going to look. There's a red button right here, red light, that you can usually see, not always. So you want to make sure, and what I usually do is I just keep it back there in the dark. It's a little easier to see. And you also want to feel and make sure that the charger is plugged in at the other end of the computer. Okay, you're going to do that for all of them. Make sure that the number of the computer corresponds to the tray. And from time to time, we need to check these chargers and make sure that they're not broken. We've gotten a few broken ones and they will spark, which is a fire hazard. So just every now and then check those, but go all the way through the cart, checking chargers and power. You do not want the computers to be on, you want to be off. You're going to check all of those. This cart looks like it's in good working order. So when you've done that, make sure this is on manage, okay, and that the power button is blinking, and then you're going to shut it and lock it. Remember to always put the keys back where they belong. Chargers. There are typically 10 chargers on top so that when the teachers have them in their classrooms, if they're using them a lot, and let's say they're using some kind of application or program that uses a lot of battery power, if they use that for 5 periods in a row, sometimes by the end of that 5th period, the computers are dead or don't have much power. So we want to provide chargers to the teachers so that they will, so that the students can continue to use the computers even though they're not charged. They'll just plug them in somewhere in the classroom. Okay, we have computer cart 1, 2, and 3. We also call cart 3 the English cart. It's the one that has the printer on top. That's the 3rd printer that you're going to check for paper and toner and those sorts of things. We have computer cart 4, which is a small cart like that white one in the corner. It typically stays in Miss Langley's room, but it does need to be checked from time to time and maintained, just to make sure that everything's on the up and up, everything's in good working order, and it doesn't need our attention in some way. Another thing we need to do from time to time, and I'm really bad about doing this, is we need to come in and make sure that everything is going well in here. The chairs are, each station has a chair, a set of headphones, everything's charged in, plugged in and working. Look at the tables, make sure I see there's some trash on a few of them. When a teacher in their class is in the room, I don't tend to bother with it because they, for the most part, clean up their own messes and we don't have to worry about it. It's the tendency of people in the building to use this as a storage area because it isn't used all the time. It's not a storage area. So things like the dictionaries that are still in here, we need to figure out where those belong and take them back. Sometimes we do end up being housekeeping, and that's okay because we have time, and it makes other people's lives easier, and that makes them like the library. That's our goal. Okay, so that leads me to the printers. We need to always check the printers to make sure that there is paper and toner. And to do that, you're going to go to each printer and just check the bottom drawer. We have a drawer 2 and a drawer 3, but we only use drawer 3. So you want to make sure that it's full of paper. An easy way to do that, and I just learned this. I don't know why I've never been told this or why I've never noticed, but if you look at the drawer, there's a little lever down here, and when it's full, the lever is up, and when it's not full, the lever is down. You don't even have to open the drawer. Who knew? Also, the screen will tell you if you need to replace the toner cartridge. This one says used black cartridge in use. That just means that we took a cartridge from a different printer and put it in this one. We've had some printers die, and we didn't want to throw away the cartridges because they're expensive, and so we've just continued to use them in a different printer. It doesn't hurt it. It doesn't affect the print job. It's just letting you know that that cartridge is used. You know, if it needs to be replaced, it'll tell you that it needs to be replaced, and a kid will usually come tell us that it needs to be replaced. But otherwise, it should say ready if it's ready. Make sure the green light is on, everything is good, and we try to keep this door shut all the time because there's not always an adult in the room, and so that way it keeps kids from coming in and out unsupervised. So that is the lab and the carts, as well as that printer. Okay. Now I'll show you where the toner cartridges are because those are important. Back in the workroom. Okay, the key to these cabinets stay locked, and I'll show you kind of why. The key is right on top of the computer storage station. This is where we keep all the toner cartridges for every printer in the building. Okay, when a teacher sends for a toner cartridge, they will tell you what kind of printer they have, and then you have to find the printer cartridge that corresponds to their printer. Okay, it's really easy. It's not hard to do. And if you notice that we're running low on a certain cartridge, you need to let me know so that we can get those ordered and replaced. We're not running low anytime soon. We placed a really big order last year, so we should be good. This is going to be our fourth printer to maintain. As soon as we get it set up, we're going to have a print center in the library with multiple printers. These two cabinets are yearbooks. When someone comes in wanting to look at past issues of yearbooks, this is where you'll come to. We have them back all the way to 1940. Yeah, goes back to 1940. And then we have a paper yearbook, I think it's like 1938, something like that. It's pretty interesting. But those are always kept in the library, and they're not to be checked out ever. They don't leave the library because this is all we have left of certain editions, and we're missing. This is why they don't leave the library. We're missing 1993 because someone decided that they needed it worse than we did years ago before I was a librarian, and she never brought it back. So we have pretty much every year except for 1993. They're under lock and key in the workroom, and the key always goes right back there. Okay. If we have a computer that needs attention, we put it on top of the shelf so that Yancy knows those are ones that need work. These are the computers that are for individual checkout. When students come in wanting to check out a computer for individual use, this is where they come. You just take it off the shelf, we pull up their name, check it out. They can keep it relatively indefinitely, but I like for them to bring them back every week or so if they're planning on keeping it for a long time, so that we can just do some maintenance, make sure it's all good, doesn't have any updates, things like that. Also, we need to make sure that we tell the students when they check those computers out that if they plan to use them at home, they have to log into those computers before they leave campus, or it won't recognize them as a user and it won't let them in. That's one thing that kids forget to do, and they get home and they can't do their homework. So that's something we need to remember to do. Also, if we have kids come in that just need to print something, if they need to print it in color, they either need to use one of the iPads, or they need to bring a thumb drive, bring their image or document or whatever on a thumb drive, and we plug it into my computer and print to the color printer. If they just need a black and white copy, they'll go to one of those 8 desktops in the back that are also available for student use. We talked about everything. We've talked about everything. So that is our library aid orientation video. Thanks for watching.